Hello, Dr. Russ here. Today we've got an exercise to help you get into your middle back, your upper back, and your lower back. It's a great way to release tension, those knots between your shoulder blades. This is a great way to stretch and get into there. If you have an acute injury, this might be a little bit much for you right now. In the video description, we'll link to some things that might be a better fit for you. If you have that sharp pain and a lot of swelling, maybe it's hard to take a deep breath because of the pain in your back, you can do this exercise maybe a little later when that sharp pain has subsided. But for now, we're going to do some cat-cow variations and get some nice arch and curl and twist through our spine from a kneeling and quadruped position. So let's do it. We're going to kneel on our mat or on the floor. As long as the surface isn't too hard, that's what we need. Get into a nice quadruped position. So for quadruped, we want our hands to be about shoulder width apart, maybe a little wider. We want our knees to be under the hips or maybe a little bit behind the hips. What we don't want is to crowd our upper body by bringing our hands too close together and crowd our lower body by bringing our knees too far forward. We just don't have enough room to move here. So open the hand stance, get your knees under the hips or slightly behind. And the first thing we're going to do is just get our balance. So we're 50-50 hands and knees and 50-50 left and right. Our weight is really centered in the middle, right between our two hands and our two knees. And let's just sense this and take a deep breath in and out. Let's play just a little bit with the weight, rocking it back and forth. A little more weight on the knees, a little more weight on the hands, a little more weight on the knees, a little more weight on the hands. And let's center again so that the weight is right in the center. And now we're going to shift to the right and we're going to shift to the left. My eyes are either closed, shift to the right and left again, or they're open with kind of a soft focus. If you're having trouble balancing, then you want to have your eyes focused on a point about 6 inches in front of your hands and right in the middle. You can focus on a spot on your mat or on the floor. Otherwise, eyes closed, soft focus. The head is going to want to tend to either like hang or arch, so you're looking forward. So the key here is just long neck. Now we're going to sense our shoulder blades, and already I can feel my arms kind of starting to work here. And we're just going to play a little bit with shoulder blades together, shoulder blades apart. Shoulder blades slide together and the upper spine kind of sags a little bit. Shoulder blades apart, and find the spot in the middle where your shoulder blades are in neutral, about halfway between together and spread apart. Boom, right about there. And now, when you're ready, we're going to play just a little bit with the imprint. So we have a whole video that's just on the imprint, and we'll link to that here, so you can check that one out next if you haven't seen it already. And we're just kind of going through an imprint through neutral to a slight arch, nice and slow. Breathing in a little bit of an arch, so the belly button heads to the floor. Breathing out a little bit of a curl, so the upper back heads to the ceiling. The lower back heads to the ceiling. And then we're just going to slowly increase this range of motion, and we're doing cat-cow, where the arch here is the cow and the curl here is the cat. Now it's important here that this is a pretty relaxed movement. We don't want to squeeze with our lower back muscles here. It's really just the weight of the organs and the weight of the abdomen that's pulling you into your cow. And when we do our cat and we curl like this, we want to make sure we're not clenching our butt cheeks. There's a tendency or a temptation to use the glutes to squeeze here, but it's really nice if you can keep those glutes relaxed, and this curl comes from the engagement of the deep abdominal muscles, pulling the pubic bone up toward the sternum. Check in with your shoulder blades again. Make sure you stayed in neutral and that you didn't sag into shoulder blades together. And we're going through cat-cow, which is a nice arch and curl. Good. Let's sit back on our heels, give our wrists a little bit of a rest, give our neck a little bit of a rest. Sometimes people get pain in the wrists from doing this, from holding weight through the extended wrists. If that's you, if you have push-up bars, you can use those. That'll keep your wrists in neutral. Or you can make fists and put like a towel under each fist on the floor on your mat to pad your knuckles, because the issue is weight through the extended wrist. And if you have a fist, your wrist is neutral and it's going to be easier on your wrists. So whatever works for you. Let's get back into our quadruped. And again, hands nice and wide, knees slightly behind your hips, shoulder blades, find that neutral. And now let's get into our arch. This is our cow. And now it's the weight of the abdomen that pulls us into the arch, and then a little bit more with a gentle squeeze of the lower back muscles to pull us into more of an arch. Slowly, gently release that, come through neutral, into an imprint, into a curl, not squeezing your butt cheeks together. Now your head can hang and you can look between your knees and give a little bit of a squeeze by pulling that pubic bone up toward the sternum. And let's go and do it again. Arch. Now as you're in your arch or your cow, and you give a little squeeze, see if you can get that arch to go all the way up into your middle back. So it's not just your lower back that's arching, it's your middle back too. It's like you're getting some separation between the spine and the shoulder blades. And you can see this is the pace that we're going. This is slow. We want to give our tissues time to deform and stretch and relax. We don't want to rush this. Pulling the pubic bone toward the sternum, that causes the lower back to go up to the ceiling. The butt cheeks are relaxed, the feet are relaxed. And come back through neutral into a nice big arch again. How far up my back can I get that arch to go? Can I get it all the way up into the base of my neck? That's what we're going for. Slowly coming through neutral into the cat. Tailbone tucks, head hangs down, and it's those middle ribs that are kind of coming up toward the ceiling. You can almost imagine that you're hanging from a strap, going around your middle and lower ribs. Come back to neutral. Let's give ourselves another 30 seconds of rest. Nice, feels good, spine's awake. Nice deep breath and feel those ribs moving. Lift that sternum, lift those front ribs with the breath. So many of us, including me, the tendency is to walk around in a little bit of a curl. So the shoulders forward, the sternum and the breastbone sunk in a little bit, lower ribs really tight. So doing that arch, doing the cow portion, getting that arch as much into our middle back as we can is a great way to counteract that. So we've already started to open that up. And we're going to reinforce that with big breaths into our sternum, lifting the sternum, expanding the front ribs, lifting the front lower ribs, and then relaxing. Okay, we're going to do it again and take it the next step here. So we'll come into our quadruped, get ourselves into it, weight balanced front to back, weight balanced side to side, play with that a little bit. Get your shoulder blades neutral. Now what I want you to do is put your toes under. So your toes, the pads of your toes are on your mat. And You're going to get yourself into that arch, into that cow position, gently squeezing with the lower back muscles, getting that arch as far up your back as you can, and holding that, we're going to sit back. And it's going to bring that arch just a little deeper and just a little farther. Definitely keeping some pressure with the heels of my hands into the mat to hold my hands steady, and then come out of it. Put the tops of the feet on the floor, so unfold the toes, gently squeeze into your curl, into your cat, and holding that deep curl, sit back. Again, now the fingertips holding the hands on the mat, and I'm getting a nice stretch through the back of my arms, the triceps line, both sides. And we're going to do this 3 more times. Toes under, big arch, all the way up to the middle back, and sit back. About this pace. Come back to neutral, curl, tops of the feet on the mat. Take this curled spine, sit it back. You feel a stretch through your lower back, through your middle back, and down the back lines of your arms. Again, arch, sit back. This is really the meat of this exercise, where we're taking our arch and our curl, and we're combining it with hip flexion. This is the curl with hip flexion. With the hands anchored, we get a really nice bit of traction through the whole spine and the shoulders. Let's do one more. The breath is moving. You're not holding. Whatever rhythm your breath wants to take is okay, as long as it's not interfering with your ability to move. Good. Come back to neutral now. Take your left hand, reach forward. Reach forward with your left hand, anchor it on your mat, and sit back into a child's pose for a big stretch through that left shoulder. Come back to neutral. Slide that right hand forward, anchor it on your mat, and gently sit back. Give yourself a nice stretch through that right lat, the right pec, the right rotator cuff. Let's do the left side again. Hand forward, anchor, and traction through that arm. See if you can feel that traction past the elbow, into the forearm, into the palm. Lifting your fingers a little bit, so the heel of my hand and my palm is still on the mat. But I've lifted my fingers a little bit to get a little bit more of a fascial stretch through the palm. And then the right side. Anchor, lean back, lift your fingers, keep it anchored. Good. And now we're going to finish with some nice twists. We call this thread the needle. So the right hand comes forward just a few inches. The left hand reaches through behind the right arm. And we're going to arch and twist. I get a little pop in my lower back every time I do this. Turn the head. And come back to neutral. Now the right hand reaches through. You can see I'm in a little bit of an arch, and I'm holding this arch as I twist through. I want to twist all the way from my sacrum through the crown of my head. Every part of my spine is twisting. Good. Anchor that right hand. Reach your left hand through. Keep a little bit of an arch and twist. Twist through from the bottom of the tailbone through the crown of the head. Get that twist into your middle back. This is your chance to stretch between your shoulder blades really safely. You've got both knees, your hand, and your elbow on the mat are all supporting your weight, so it's safe for your spine. And you can relax and revel in this movement and hang out in this position as long as you need to feel that middle back stretch. Come back through. Get back into your quadruped. And let's cat, slowly, cow, 1 or 2 more times. Just the icing on the cake. And give yourself a little bit of a break and a pat on the back. Good job. You just took a few minutes out of your day to release some tension from your spine. Give yourself an easier time breathing. Take a lot of tension off of your neck and shoulders this way. Thanks for watching. Always appreciate your views. Drop any comments or suggestions in the comments of the video. Dr. Russ signing off.